Hello everyone, welcome back. So, another weekend in the books. Unfortunately this week spent a lot of time outside these four walls. Work commitments, family commitments, you name it all had to happen this week. So, not a lot of time spent on the car, but did manage to tick a few boxes, which is good. Put a post up last night, just showing that we're having some issues with the wiring still, with oil temperature readings and bits and pieces. I'll go through that with you now. And a bit of a discovery I've only found in the last half an hour, which is going to cause a bit of a rethink on the rest of the restoration. So I'll go through all that with you now. So today there's been a little bit more work on the electrics. Now you may have seen a photo I put up last night. We were getting some weird readings on the dashboard. Now just to explain them quickly, if I go inside the car, there's your master switch. If we turn that on, let the dashboard do its thing. You'll see there, ET is engine temp, OT is oil temp. Now, the car hasn't been started for over a week, so ambient is pretty cold today. So engine temperature be 14 degrees, and oil temperature is reading as 70. So you'd assume the engine temperature's right, and the oil temperature's not reading properly, because it shouldn't be anywhere near that number. They should be fairly close. So there's obviously an issue with the sensor or the message getting to the Motec. So if we come back out of the car, just to show you where that reads from, just grab my torch. Now you'll see here, it's probably going to be a little bit hard to show you, but if I shine that down in there, you can see that that little black plug that's just above the oil filter there on the oil filter housing, which is just there as it focuses. That's where the oil temperature reading comes from. Now it's actually reading okay. I've put a multimeter on it. It changes as the temperature changes. So everything seems to be okay from that standpoint. So there's another problem somewhere. Now the problem we're going to have is working out where that is. It all goes through the main harness. We follow it up through the firewall back inside the car. So there's going to be a little bit of work involved in I guess working out where the problem is. I have had a couple of guys contact me in the last 24 hours, which has been great, that know a lot about the wiring on these cars, that have given me a few pointers. So really appreciate that, and I'll continue to have a bit of a look and see what we can work out. Now, other things that I've done today, the brake lights on the car, they were intermittently working. They were working when we did the run-up video last week, and then they stopped all of a sudden. Now, most of these cars, if I go back inside again, most of these cars have an inline switch, I guess, that works on hydraulic pressure, not so much movement. This car having hanging pedals, which you can see there, which a lot of the supercars don't. If I grab my torch again, shine it up in there, because it's got the hanging pedals, it's also got this pretty well a standard road car brake switch. So you can see there, that just moves off the pedal. So if I'm going to focus, there we go. So I've replaced that switch, and it's now working 100%. It actually had a broken wire internally, so another little niggling issue that it was good it did it now, not once the car hits the track. So that's all been replaced. We've got brake lights, tail lights, everything's now working as far as the lighting's concerned on the car. Now, just to quickly show you, if I run over this way quickly, over to FTR3, just to show you the pedal box in this car, which I've covered off previously, is completely different. Now, as you can see, it's a floor-mounted pedal system, and there's no switch that runs off pedal movement. So if you have a look up the back there, it's going to be a little bit hard to see, but you can see that little switch with the wires hanging out of it. That, when you create hydraulic pressure on the brakes, that's what triggers your brake lights and also gives you a pressure reading. So two different theories on the pedals and how it all triggers, but again, same result. So this is where we run into a bit of trouble. Now, this is something we had not thought of for a second, but in hindsight we should have. I'll do my best to explain it now. So basically with the engine, we have a couple of niggling issues, which we've explained last week. So we haven't done a lot with the running and tuning of the engine at this point. I've got someone coming to have a look at it hopefully this week. Everyone was a bit busy last week, which is completely understandable. So basically the vacuum issue and the trumpets leaking a bit of fuel and that, we'll obviously get that rectified hopefully pretty quickly and pretty easily. While we're waiting for that to happen and while chipping away at everything else, we thought we'd start mounting up the airbox and just a few of the finishing touches on the car. Now, if we have a look here, you've got this big carbon fibre piece here, which is the whole airbox system, and as you can imagine, the trumpets and that go through the middle of that, and that all sits in over the top of the engine. So that's all sealed off completely. Trumpets pop through the middle, and then you've got, if we come over this way, you've got the main air filter there. Now, that's obviously fairly second-hand. We've got some new filters and that we're going to urethane in there and reseal all that, but the main carbon fibre structure is fine. Now, that sits over the top of the trumpets, which filters your air, and then it's all sealed off from there. Now, if I try and do this one-handed, just have to bear with me with the poor camera work. So that sits over the top of the trumpets like that, and that's how the air's all filtered. Now, looks neat and tidy. That big wraparound piece that's on the ground there, it goes around, so covers everything in. Looks quite neat and tidy when it's done. Problem we've got, oh dear, the bonnet doesn't shut. So what's happened is it sits too high, and that whole air induction system, an airbox, was built into the BA hump, which is no longer there. As you may know, if you've been following since day one, the car was converted to a BA, and we've converted it back. So we're now stuck with the issue that the whole airbox doesn't fit the basically under the engine bay anymore because of the bonnet. Now, obviously the AUs didn't run a hump, so we're not going to modify and put a hump in the bonnet. That would just, you know, not be period correct at all. So we're going to have to spend this week just understanding what airbox it had on it. When you speak with different people and you look at photos, there was basically it felt like every week it had a different airbox. So we're going to need to just have a bit of a look into that during the week and get some answers on that as well. Not something we factored in, but you know, in hindsight we probably should have. Now, if we go over again to FTR3 and just have a look under here, which I showed you this airbox under here before. It's a beautiful piece of work. It's all carbon fibre. Looks really, really neat and tidy. If we use that as an example, keeping in mind that this car was originally an AU as well and was converted, if we go down with the bonnet line, it's exactly the same. If I can get that to focus properly, but you can see there the airbox is higher than what the AU bonnet would sit. So if you have a look up there, it's got that big BA bulge. So all the airboxes were built into that. So I do recall reading an article many years ago where some of the Holden teams were complaining when the BA was introduced because it enabled you to play with trumpet lengths and effectively build the airbox up into the bulge in the bonnet. That's exactly what's happened. So that there, for converting these cars back, is a massive problem. So that's something that we, as I said, hadn't really thought of. So that'll be this week's mission as well as everything else, just to try and, I guess, find an airbox, find bits and pieces, find one that's period correct, and then move forward from there. We do have the option of modifying it if need be. Like it may just be that, you know, that top section was run on more of an angle to fit under the bonnet. It could be that simple, but we're going to do a bit of research, see what we're dealing with, and hopefully this time next week we'll have a sorted engine, we'll have an airbox, or at least some direction on what we need to do, and then it's really getting down to crunch time that we can fire it up and drop it on a track. Obviously we have missed the August deadline of getting it on a track, but there is another opportunity coming up, so we're still working double time to make it all happen. So thanks again. Hopefully next video we'll have something a lot more positive and without so many curveballs, and we'll share it all with you when that time comes. So thanks again. We'll speak with you soon.